Ladies and gentlemen, the American Cheering Bulldog Nation, welcome to the Eric Deters Show, where yesterday was the funeral of Jimmy Carter. Lots of people spoke. Joe Biden, obviously, and talking about abuse of power. I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell, Joe? The Carter family members spoke. You had Steve Ford spoke. But everybody was focused on the dynamics of all the presidents. And I want you all to know, and this is just my opinion, Trump went there, so those other presidents were forced to have to deal with him sitting next to him. That's what I think happened. Anyway, Trump and Barack Obama had a good old laugh. He was lighthearted about it afterwards. He goes, boy, he did look kind of friendly. He goes, we have different philosophies, but we get along. He even said we all get along. I have a hard time believing that Trump and Bill Clinton don't get along. Hillary, different story. Different story. But Barack Obama was there without Michelle. George Bush was there with his wife, Laura. Of course, he walked right by and snubbed Trump. But let's focus on Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a failed president, but he was a good man. And he was also a great ex-president. But Jimmy Carter is the classic. Heart's in the right place, but that's not what we need as a president. You need strength, not thinking that we're going to set a good example. All right, California fires. They're just keeping getting worse and worse. Mandy Moore has set up a GoFundMe page. Some people's homes there were spared. Spielberg, Hanks, others spared. Ben Affleck spared. But a lot of them smoked. Mel Gibson says his house looks like Dresden. 10,000 structures, they say. About 20 people have died. There are only 20,000 residents in Palisades. So if you're talking about 20,000 residents, there's more than one person living in a house. I think Palisades is gone. The biggest news today, and I can now report on what happened, Trump appeared at his sentencing virtually, and he was granted an unconditional surrender. What's that mean? No punishment. He's unconditionally surrendered. He's a convicted felon. And you know what? Trump gave it back to him when he had a chance to speak. So it's finally over. Our long national nightmare is over. GOP governors all gathered at Mar-a-Lago. I'm sure that was a productive meeting, showing how the red states will lead the way to prosperity. Leo Terrell, an outspoken Trump proponent on Fox News, has been given a job in the Justice Department, the Civil Rights Division. 100 executive orders apparently are prepared for day one. Yeah, baby, yeah. Joe Rogan had Mel Gibson on, and they had a great time talking about the woke Hollywood world and how they screwed up with these fires. It's unbelievable. Joe Biden is now considered by the people, he's the worst president in history, as the worst president since Nixon. Can you imagine what that guy's going to do the last few days of his office with pardons? Adam Carolla had a great story. He said that he applied to be a member of the fire department and got turned down because he was white. Isn't that wild? 61% of the population says drain the swamp. Why would 39% want the swamp? J.D. Vance resigned yesterday, effective midnight today, and therefore it opens up the door for Mike DeWine to appoint his Senate replacement, which everyone seems to think will be John Husted. Biden, feds, he says the feds should pay 100% of all these fires. Now, this is another classic example that pisses me off. Why? California has bad policies that result in these things, and then all of us have got to pay for it. And did he say something like that for North Carolina? How come Joe Biden didn't say, everybody who lost their home in North Carolina, federal dollars? Why? Because they're not rich Hollywood people. You know what? It'll be interesting to see if this humbles the Hollywood woke class. It'll be interesting. Fetterman's going to Mar-a-Lago. He also would like to be Pope of Greenland. I like this guy. Title IX, LGBTQ. Lots of states filed a lawsuit in Kentucky, and Judge Danny Reeves, who's one tough hombre, said the Title IX push through for LGBTQ, it's all unconstitutional. Big hit for old Joe going out the door. In Iran, this is hysterical. Iran says they stand ready to defend Panama, Greenland, and Canada from the United States. They crack me up. And Pam Bondi will be the first person to go next week on Tuesday before a Senate committee to get approved as the next Attorney General. All right, there you go. This is the Bulldog. Coming up next, local news. All right, here we go with local news. Last night I hosted a little event down at Brio's, and it was a fundraiser. We had a great time talking to David Yost. I want to tell you about David Yost. If Husted gets the appointment to the United States Senate, which it looks like he is, and the polls, just so you know, I got some inside baseball, the polls show that David Yost kills Husted for governor. So that's Husted's next move. So David Yost will no doubt become the front runner for the next governor of Ohio. Now, there's a lot of speculation and talk because he's filthy rich and whatnot that Vivek Ramaswamy wants to be governor. I've heard some people say that, yeah, he does want to run for governor. However, I predict he does not run for governor. And the reason why is he's hanging out with Elon Musk. He's having a good old time with Elon Musk. And he'll get very much more pulled into that world, in my opinion, that coming back to run for governor of Ohio. And the polls show that he would be a formidable opponent for David Yost. David Yost last night, I watched him at Patriot State Freedom Fest, a big crowd. I watched him last night in a small crowd. And I want to tell you something. He speaks well. He articulates well. And unlike me, Mr. Talker, the guy's a great listener. I was very impressed with him. And I got to tell you something else about it. He changed my mind about that $750 as it relates to the 911 calls and whatnot. You know what? I never knew this. Just tells you how a rational person hears new information. Law enforcement supported that, and the reason why they supported it is because it just wasn't defendants wanting it. The TikTok world were requesting these 911 tapes under open records. In other words, the taxpayer financially supporting the TikTok influencers for those tapes. So they have to pay $75 an hour, up to $750. Why? Because you got to sit there. Somebody's got to sit there and listen because you have to have only the defendant in it. You got to take out everybody. So you got to edit the tape. So I reversed my position on that $750 fee. After he explained that, I was like, by the way, I didn't even ask him. He was just telling a story. And I'm thinking, well, that changed my mind. David Yost for governor of Ohio. Let's all get behind him. Kareem Moffitt is going to be the new president of the Cincinnati Public Schools. Wish her the best. Kroger, $100 million paid to Kentucky as part of the opioid crisis secured by the Attorney General. Kentucky's going to have a 3.5% income tax, reduced again. Yay. You got to excuse me for putting this in local news, okay? But my local high school out here, Simon Kenton, is a new head football coach. It's Joe Wynn. Go get him, Joe. 2 coal locations are being closed in Cincinnati. I can't believe the one in Walton stays open, but I hope it does stay open. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Coming up next is my mate. By the way, somebody asked me mate like we were gay or something. I said, that's a British term, being mate. We are the most heterosexuals of heterosexuals in the world, right? We're definitely homophobic kind of guys. Anyway, bottom line is Jamie Spindley has defeated me in chess today. And he's proud of that. When I lose to Jamie Spindley in press, I feel like a complete loser. But anyway, let's see what his world news is.
Thank you, Eric. Let's see what's going on in today's world. At least 10 people have died in wildfires raging across Los Angeles, with officials warning that strong winds and dry conditions could worsen the crisis. A red flag warning signaling critical fire risks remain in effect throughout Southern California. 5 fires are still burning, and authorities have detained a suspect believed to have started the most recent blaze. The Kremlin has expressed concerns after US President-elect Donald Trump hinted at possible military action to claim Greenland from Denmark. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov emphasized that the Arctic region falls within Russia's strategic and national interests, underscoring the need for peace and stability in that area. A Canadian man was arrested at Delhi Airport for attempting to smuggle a crocodile skull in his luggage. The 32-year-old was stopped during a security check before boarding his flight to Canada. Customs officials discovered the skull wrapped in cloth and then handed it over to the Department of Forest and Wildlife for further investigation. And Pakistan's state-owned airline, PIA, has resumed flights to Europe following the EU's decision to lift a 4-year safety ban. However, the carrier remains prohibited from operating flights to the United Kingdom and the United States of America. That's it for today. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Up next, Sports Without Boundaries.
All right, here we go with Sports Without Boundaries. Notre Dame last night was a great game. I got home in time for my fundraiser to watch the whole game. 27-24, they beat Penn. Wow, wow, wow. It was a great game. Won on a last-second field goal. UK plays Mississippi State tomorrow at Mississippi State. Texas tonight plays Ohio State in the other college playoff game. I think it's 7:30 on ESPN. Kansas plays UC Bearcats. Yes, good luck, UC. Rams-Vikings playoff game has been moved to Arizona. Carson Beck, the starting quarterback for Georgia, is entering the transfer portal. Wow. J.J. Redick, the head coach of the L.A. Lakers, home destroyed. Wow. And, of course, this weekend, going to be some great play. This is probably the best week of pro football all year long, this first round of playoff games. All right, coming up next, pop culture. We got 2 stories about pop culture. And the first one I'm going to have some fun with. Anita Bryant passed away at 85. Do you know what I think about when I think about Anita Bryant? I grew up with Anita Bryant as the spokesperson for the orange juice industry. She did a great job peddling orange juice to us when we were kids. She did. She was in all the orange juice commercials. And then one day, she spoke out against gays. She called gays the Antichrist, and it all blew up for poor old Anita. So when I think of Anita Bryant, I think of 2 things: orange juice and gays. Our next story, Alec Baldwin. You know that story, and those crimes that were charged against him in New Mexico or Arizona. He was charged, not charged, charged, dropped. He's now suing the prosecutor. Prosecutors have immunity, so I don't know what his angle is here. There's some grave exceptions, but Alec Baldwin probably wants some of his money back. He never even went to trial, and I bet you he got raped for probably like $20 million in legal fees. Lawyers are bloodsuckers. No, lawyers are shard-born, cockered bloodsuckers. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day.